Hey fellow filmmakers, I'm Anthony with PremiumBeat. You might find yourself in a few different situations where you only have one light to film a scene. This may be due to time constraints, one person crews, or budget. So what I want to do today is show you a few different simple yet effective light setups where you can still get a cinematic looking image just with one single light. Well, let's get into it. Let's kick things off with a standard interview setup. Now keep in mind, a lot of these tips and tricks can be used in different kind of situations and aren't limited to just the scenes I'm showing you them in. Here's John, who kindly volunteered to be our subject today, seated in front of the backdrop with just our standard overhead room lights on. Obviously, it doesn't look very good. The first thing I'm gonna do is bring in our one light. This is gonna be our key. And I'm gonna position this about 45 to 35 degrees in front of the subject. This is gonna cast some nice shadows on their face, giving it some texture, depth, and drama. This looks fine, I guess. It's a nice starting point, but I really wanna start shaping things up a bit. With the use of a few simple modifiers, we can start shaping and controlling the light and really improving the image. One of my favorites is the 5-in-1 modifier. These things are so great. They're small, they're cheap, they're versatile, and they can do just so much. I actually keep a couple of these in my car just in case, because you never know when you might need one. What we're gonna do is we're gonna break out this reflector and set it up on the opposite side of John, so we can fill in those shadows that key light is casting. This is basically functioning as a second fill light. The great thing about these 5-in-1 reflectors is there's a lot of different sides to them. So what I'm doing here is using the gold metallic side and filling in some of those shadows with a warm looking light on this opposite side. I think it looks pretty good. If you want to take this one step further and your light has enough power to it, you can set up another reflector just behind your subject and bounce light into the back of them, separating them from the background. This is honestly starting to look pretty good. The last step is controlling the quality of the light, or basically how hard or soft the shadows are being casted by our main key. This can be done by putting diffusion or some sheer material in front of the light, and that would soften up the shadows quite a bit. So let's start by doing that with, you guessed it, the 5-in-1 reflector. We can break this down by adding it onto a C-stand or a light stand in front of our light and softening it up with diffusion. See how those shadows kind of fade on his face? That's the look we're going for. Of course, there are additional modifiers that can be attached to the light, like soft boxes or lanterns, but for a quick and easy setup, totally use a reflector. Here, we've done both. Here's our light with the reflector broken down to be diffusion in front of the light, and here's with a dedicated softbox attached to the light. So to run things down, here's what we started with. Not so good looking. Here's with just the key light plus one single reflector, the reflector on its gold side, the key light with a dedicated softbox on it, and the key light with the 5-in-1 diffuser. This is really quick and easy and can be done on the fly with just a single person, one light, and just a few reflectors. For our next lighting situation, we have a standard over-the-shoulder dialogue scene. We have two characters having a conversation, and we're gonna light it with just one light. For our first setup, we're gonna take the key light and position it about 45 degrees behind one of our characters. This creates what's called a backlight. The light's going to come from behind her and light the front of our face just a little bit. The bonus of this is one single key lights both of our characters. One with a backlight and one with a 45-degree front light. If you've got to shoot a dialogue scene quick, this is the way to go. You're lighting two characters with a single light setup, and you can switch back and forth between shots without moving anything around. If you really like that backlighting look and you got a little bit of extra time, when you're switching between shots of the dialogue, you can swing that light around and backlight your other subject. Now you've got a scene that looks like it was lit with multiple different lights, but only using one single key light. Next, we're going to use the same light in the same dialogue scene, but use a light modifier called a lantern. This spreads nice, soft, even light all around the scene and can be used right in the middle of the two, casting even light on both subjects at the same time. I'm a big fan of the lantern modifier. It gives the light a nice motivated look that looks like it's within the scene already, but gives quality of a nice cinematic image. So to recap real quick, here's a single light, backlighting one subject and front lighting another. With a little more time, we can backlight one while backlighting the other. And the third option is using a lantern on the light in the middle of the two subjects, front lighting both of them, but really giving a soft looking feel to the entire image. Now I know I said this is a single light setup and this is bending the rules a little bit, but in your next scene, consider using some practical lights. Practicals are lamps or candles or other light sources that kind of would look organic within the scene that you're shooting. But practicals can be littered around your scene to kind of give it some depth and character. As an example, here's the scene we just shot. I added a small lamp just behind one of our characters on the small table that was right next to him, and it doesn't really cast a lot, if any, light onto our character itself, but it really gives the shot some depth and some contrast with the mixed lighting. Well, that about does it. Those are a couple common situations in which you can light a scene with just one single light and still get a great looking cinematic image. You can take these things that I kind of showed you today, play around with them in a few different scenarios that you may have in the future, and it's quick, it's easy, doesn't take a lot of tools, and you can set it up all by yourself. Just to prove that point, this little scene here was actually filmed with just one light, a softbox, and a reflector. So, if you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments, and until next time, I'm Anthony with PremiumBeat.